Hello and welcome to the next episode of Alexander the Great. Alexander's gracious and reassuring response to the members of the royal family of Darius III. Alexander reassured them that he was no threat and that they'd be safe, treated with respect, and wouldn't face any harm or embarrassment. In the aftermath of his stunning victory at Issus, Alexander the Great came into possession of an unexpected prize. The mother, wife, and children of Darius III, abandoned in the Persian royal camp. Their capture presented Alexander with a unique opportunity to display either the brutality of a conqueror or the magnanimity of a king. His subsequent treatment of the Persian royal family would become one of the most celebrated and debated aspects of his legend. As darkness fell on the battlefield of Issus in November 333 BCE, the remnants of Darius III's shattered army were fleeing in panic, relentlessly pursued by Alexander's victorious Macedonians. Alexander himself, having narrowly failed to capture Darius, returned late at night to the captured Persian camp, which was now a scene of immense plunder. Amidst the chaos and the spoils of war, an extraordinary discovery was made. Darius, in his hasty flight, had abandoned his entire royal household. Macedonian soldiers exploring the lavishly appointed royal tents found Darius's mother Sisygombes, his wife Statera renowned as one of the most beautiful women in Asia, his young son and heir, Archas, then about 6 years old, his 2 young daughters, Statera, 2 later also known as Barsini, and Drypetis, and numerous other female relatives, attendants, and a vast retinue. The royal women, hearing the sounds of the plundering army, and seeing Darius's abandoned chariot cloak and weapons brought into the camp, naturally assumed that the great king was dead, and that they themselves faced imminent death, enslavement, or dishonor. The common fate of captured women in ancient warfare, they began to wail and lament loudly, their cries of grief echoing through the camp. When news of their capture and distress reached Alexander, he immediately took action. He sent Leonatus, one of his trusted bodyguards, to their tent with a message. Leonatus was to inform them that Darius was, in fact, still alive and had escaped. He was also to assure them that they had nothing to fear from Alexander. They would be kept safe, their royal dignity would be respected, and they would suffer no harm or indignity. Shortly thereafter, Alexander himself, accompanied only by his closest and dearest friend, Hephaestion, went to visit the royal women. This visit, as described by ancient historians like Arrian, Plutarch, and Diodorus Siculus, became a legendary episode showcasing Alexander's character. As the 2 Macedonians entered the tent, Sisygombes, Darius's mother, overcome with fear and grief, and unfamiliar with Macedonian customs or the appearance of Alexander, made a significant error. Hephaestion was roughly the same age as Alexander, but was taller and, in her eyes, perhaps appeared more imposing or regal. Mistaking Hephaestion for the king, Sisygombes prostrated herself before him in the customary Persian act of obeisance proskynesis due to royalty. When attendants pointed out her mistake, indicating Alexander, Sisygombes was mortified and terrified. She had committed a grave offense by prostrating to the wrong person, and feared a harsh rebuke or punishment from the victorious conqueror. However, Alexander's response was one of extraordinary grace and magnanimity. He helped her to her feet and famously remarked, "You were not mistaken, mother, for this man too is Alexander." This statement not only instantly diffused a deeply embarrassing situation and calmed Sisygombes' fears, but also publicly honored Hephaestion, underscoring the profound bond between the 2 men, whom many saw as alter egos. Alexander then proceeded to reassure the royal family. He reiterated that Darius was alive, He promised that they would be treated with the utmost respect due to their royal rank, that they would be allowed to keep their retinue of servants, and all their personal effects and accustomed luxuries, and that their honor would be inviolate. Specifically concerning Darius's beautiful wife, Statera I, Alexander pledged that she would suffer no indignity. Indeed, ancient writers make a point of stating that Alexander, known for his self-control in such matters, either never saw Statera again after this initial meeting, or only did so in the presence of others, to avoid any suspicion of impropriety or to demonstrate his respect for her status as Darius's wife. He even spoke kindly to Darius's young son, Oxus, reportedly taking the boy on his knee and remarking on his courage, promising to raise him as if he were his own. Alexander's treatment of the captured Persian royal family was widely lauded in antiquity as an act of remarkable chivalry, self-restraint, and magnanimity. It stood in stark contrast to the often brutal and merciless behavior of conquerors towards the families of their defeated enemies. Several factors likely motivated Alexander's conduct. There may have been a genuine element of compassion and an adherence to a Homeric heroic code regarding the treatment of noble captives. His education under Aristotle, emphasizing virtue and moderation, might also have played a role. However, astute political calculation was undoubtedly also a significant factor. By treating Darius's family honorably, Alexander presented himself to the world, and particularly to the diverse peoples of the Persian Empire, not as a destructive barbarian, but as a civilized and benevolent ruler, a worthy successor to the Achaemenid throne. This could encourage other cities and provinces to surrender to him without prolonged resistance. Furthermore, the royal family constituted immensely valuable hostages. Their presence in his camp put enormous psychological pressure on Darius III, who would be desperate to secure their release. They also provided Alexander with powerful leverage in any future negotiations. Keeping them safe and well treated could also facilitate his eventual claim to the Persian throne, perhaps through marriage into the Achaemenid line or by positioning himself as a protector of the dynasty. Sisygombis, in particular, was deeply moved by Alexander's kindness and respect. Over time, she reportedly developed a profound affection for him, coming to regard him almost as a son, especially as Darius repeatedly failed to rescue his family or make concessions acceptable to Alexander for their release. This bond would last until Alexander's own death. The capture of the Persian royal family at Issus, and Alexander's subsequent treatment of them, thus became a cornerstone of his legend. It was an act that resonated powerfully, enhancing his reputation for chivalry, while simultaneously serving his strategic and political aims. The vast treasures, also captured in Darius's camp, provided a much-needed infusion of wealth for Alexander's campaign, significantly easing his financial burdens as he prepared to continue his inexorable advance deeper into the Persian Empire. Hope you enjoyed our vlog. If you did, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments.